And I'm Noah, and you're listening to A Bite of,
where we take our current favorite pop culture obsession and enjoy it one nibble at a time.
Okay, this is our final voyage into 1899.
Voyage of what type, you might ask?
Oh, stop. We have so many thoughts and so much questioning to do.
Mainly questions.
Mostly questions, as these types of series have us do.
They sure love to do it, don't they?
Oh man, this is like our last series we're covering of 2022. Can you believe it?
What a year.
We covered a lot.
We've had Moon Knights, She-Hulks, ships of all sorts.
Multiverses of madness.
Indeed. And where are we now?
No idea. All right, so we got to get into this episode. But of course, before we get into it, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at A Bite of Pod. All the social media links and everything are down below in the description, so go ahead and click those. There's the Discord, all that great stuff. If you like the show, want to support us and anything else, get free stuff, merch, all that stuff, donate on Patreon. I always don't know how to lead into it. I feel weird. Whatever.
Can we have some money, please?
Yeah. Merry Christmas. And then lastly, but not leastly, leave that review anywhere you can. Give some stars, whatever you want to do. But thank you, regardless, for listening, if you made it this far. But that's all I have.
All right. Let's take a look back at 1899, Episode 5, The Calling, and Episode 6, The Pyramid.
All the episodes before this, go.
Okay. Oh, full season review, go. Maura discovers that the boy has been locked in a cupboard aboard the Kerberos following his reappearance after being thrown overboard. When trying to free him, a shot is fired. Time stops and they escape. Soon a siren wails, a death clock ticks, and boat passengers throw themselves overboard, including Crester.
Oh.
As she mourns the loss of her siblings, we learn of Tove's tragic past. Maura and Ike go memory hopping, where Daniel finds them in the mental hospital. After a scuffle, Maura locks Daniel in room 1011 at the hospital, and Ike finds himself in a ship graveyard.
Bum, bum, bum.
Whoa, look at all these ships.
Oh, ship.
That's the one.
All right. So final spoiler waters ahead. We're setting sail, full steam ahead, 450,000 knots, whatever the terminology is.
Due northwest.
Yeah. So this is spoilers for the entire season of 1899. You've been warned.
Let's officially take a bite of 1899, Episode 7, The Storm, and Episode 8, The Key.
Yeah. You know, so these two episodes are interesting. If you've watched the entire season, you know that the very last episode does a whole big nope, pulls the rug right out from underneath you. So talking about the penultimate episode is kind of funny leading up to the finale. So what we're going to do this time is talk about the penultimate episode because we have to. But just keep in mind, we know what's coming and you know what's coming. So
Totally. And that's the thing. It's like, we've spent so much of these last few episodes or all of these episodes talking about 1899, trying to, find the missing puzzle pieces and figure out the mystery. But,
what does all the symbolism mean?
Right. What does it all mean? But in the end, it almost feels like most of it doesn't matter.
No, a lot of it matters.
Okay.
As to what the reality is.
But what is the reality?
Right. We don't know.
Right. But it felt like the penultimate episode was really driving down to this final episode. I mean, like we were knocking people off left and right.
Yeah. That's what really the penultimate episode was, to get you in the feels, even though we knew it really didn't matter. Because leading up to this point, we've heard simulation. That's been a theory this entire time. This isn't real. It can't really be real. But this penultimate episode is pretty interesting in laying some of the groundwork, and then the ultimate episode just kind of shaking that a little bit. With these types of shows, it's hard to tell what's real and what's not. It's almost the same thing as Dark. Until you get the end of the story, I think it's really hard to say any definitive yes. But one thing we know for sure is that people that have died, at least our main cast, the 15 or so of them, they're not really dead. So,
Correct.
yay. That's great.
Correct.
I like that for us.
Yeah. But one of the things that I wonder so much about these sort of the main players here of the ensemble, like these characters, is so their pasts that we've seen aren't real.
How do we
right?
know?
Because we've been thinking that they're like hundreds, like they're in 1899 or 17, whatever. And it just doesn't seem that way anymore. But my question more lies in, are all of these sort of love things that have happened, these attractions, are those real? So
Yes.
do you know what I mean? Like those
At least in the simulation. What makes that not real? Huh? No,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Plato's cave or something.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think that's going to be the burning question. Maybe the reason why the characters that weren't really in love but did come in love is because they are actually in love in reality. There's been a breadcrumbs that Henry, the person we thought was the creator and the mastermind behind all this, the villain per se, he kind of says something in the finale and in this episode too, where memory, no matter what, you're always going to be drawn to your actual memories, even if you don't really remember. So just the same thing with Ling and Oleg. Maybe they are actually in love in real life, and that's why they were so immediately drawn together and couldn't even communicate.
And
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. And speaking of communication, sorry to jump off ship of what we were just talking about, but I finally felt like in these last two episodes, it was really kind of apparent and purposely made apparent that none of them could understand each other.
Oh, yeah.
Finally. Because for so often in this series, we were going like, but wait, are they able to understand each other? Because they're not really there. But here, there's literally people going, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
What
but just following anyway,
right?
Which is
Totally.
fantastic.
And making allies and separating, just going by instinct.
Yeah, I'm just going to chalk that up to, in some way, they know this is a simulation. So they're just going to go along with it? I don't know.
Sure. I mean, I just felt validation that finally people were like, I don't know what you're saying because I don't speak that language.
Yeah. So hot off the heels of the other episodes that we covered, we know that Daniel and Maura are married. And from what we can see, that's completely true, leading all the way to the end of the finale. Another big revelation that we do find out, we know the boy can speak. Surprise. Mm-hmm. And it is also their son.
Elliot.
Yeah. So my dark series knowledge, I think we had talked about this in the previous episodes. One of us was like, oh, it's a younger Daniel. Another one, we were like, oh, it might be their kid. We were right in one. That dark knowledge really made me think it was just like a younger version of Daniel because, as you know, time loops and stuff like that. That's just, but I'm glad they didn't, because going from one kind of time loopy one to another, it'd be like, okay, guys, like
it would have felt like the same thing.
Spice it up just a little bit. But that was a good kind of twist that I think everybody knew there was more to it, but didn't exactly know. And I'm fine with that revelation.
Yeah, their relationship is so interesting because Daniel is so in this entire thing for Maura. Again, they're using so much coded language, we don't necessarily know what's really going on, but he's trying to free her in some way from whatever's going on. We don't know how he got in. We don't know how Elliot is in there, but all these things sort of seem to make sense.
We do. The only thing we do know about Daniel is that he's obviously in the simulation, but he's kind of almost gone rogue. He's going against the system, and he has been for quite some time. But before we get into all of the particulars and jumping ahead, because the last episode is mind-blowing, let's talk about this penultimate episode. One of the things I like about the show is that they did a really well-constructed, compelling story, even with all the breadcrumbs and even knowing that it might not be real. So like this one that we hinted at, there's a lot of pieces moving. There's a lot of people moving and going into different rooms in different groups. Mm-hmm. And one of the big things that does happen in this is that we see quite a few of our characters sacrifice themselves or die. Again, even though that does happen, I still felt myself getting kind of sad because, again, we kind of know that there's some semblance of that's who this person is, but they think it's real. You know what? So like the sacrifices they're making is because they want to make that sacrifice, not because it's not real. They don't know this.
Yeah, and on the other end of that, the people who are watching them sacrifice themselves, like someone like Ling Yi. So she lost her mother a day or two ago, and now she lost her love interest in this episode because Oleg kind of goes out onto the deck of the ship to save her and gets washed away. So that emotion is also real for Ling Yi of losing these people back to back.
Right.
And so even though it's in the quote simulation, it still means something.
Yeah, because she still loves him no matter what, but also like her mom.
Well, she went out on the deck to find her mom.
Yeah. So this episode kind of it gets crazy when the simulation starts shutting down. They have like 29 minutes before the simulation shuts down. Our main cast doesn't really know that, except for Daniel and kind of like Maura and obviously Elliot. And within this, that means that things are just going to go haywire. And it seems like that's in the form of a storm. Hence why this is called the storm. So the storm comes to shut down the entire simulation. They're on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Rocky waters. It's not great.
Very rocky waters.
Very rocky waters. So let's talk about the deaths.
Let's do it.
I do like that there's a particular scene when everybody kind of starts splitting up, or like they're going to go. Some people are going to go to close the bulkheads because the water's going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Some people need to go and get the boat moving. Some people need to go
engine room,
to steer the ship. And Mama Dutch is just herself through and through. She don't give a shit that it's a simulation. She wants to just let God kill all the whores and flakes. She just wants, she's like, nope, this is God's will. I want that to happen. I'm done with it. But poor Tove, I think like the fact that her parents were just like, go on without us. We're just going to stay here and die. I'm like, give this girl a break. I don't care. It's a simulation. Everybody's dead.
You're right. She's another one, right? So in the last episode, her brother died, who she was very close to. And then in this episode, her mother is still talking about being whispered to by God. And she's like, Mom, no, you're not. You know you're not being spoken to by God. Actually, you've lost your mind.
Yeah.
And when she's about to go, she's like, come on, Dad. And Dad decides to stay with Mom. But at some point, she just has to cut her losses because she's not going to stay with them.
Yeah.
They're holding her back.
Well, I don't think she's thinking of it that way.
I just think she has to make that decision, right? She's like, I'm not going to die for you and your nonsense.
You're just dead weight, Mom.
Literally. And I think she's even in a moment disappointed in her father for not coming with her because she knows that her father knows that her mother's just losing it.
Yeah. I mean, she refuses. She just gives up because she believes it's God's will, which I have to give her props. That devotion is beyond anything that I probably could do for something like that. I don't think that, I don't know, that's just the type of thing that I just could not relate to. So I give her respect in that aspect. But Ankur, her husband, the fact that in the episode prior, he talked about he doesn't believe in it. Like, I just want her to be happy. He still does. He's like that old couple on Titanic. He holds her and they drown. Remember in Titanic, the old couple on the bed? Yeah, that's what he does with her. He accepts the fate because he knows that his wife has accepted it and he doesn't want to not be with her.
It's not as romantic as the Titanic couple.
It's not on her side, but on his side, I feel like it is. Just a little bit. Like he can't not, he still wants to be with her.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said of, in sickness and in health. And he's...
Oh, well, drowning is not one of them.
But for him, it is. For him, he's saying like, yeah, I agreed to this. I love you. I'll take care of you. And I'm not going to leave you here by yourself.
Yeah. Another sad death is Lucien. And he starts having a seizure right when he probably shouldn't be because he's all the way down at the bottom of the ship. And Clemens and Jerome are like, let's go get him his medicine. He dies before they get there.
I'm not laughing because he died.
I know.
Like, by talking about this, I'm just laughing at how ridiculous these last two episodes were. It was just like, he's in the engine room, and then, of course, it's like the storm is going to flip them over, and then, of course, he has a seizure.
Yeah.
And then they have to, and then Clemens and Jerome try and lift him up all the way back to the room, but it's too late.
They do get him up there, which
I know, but
I feel like
too late.
Kudos. Yeah, it was sad. He should have brought vials with him. Like, he had a whole case of them. That's on you, man.
I like how I'm laughing about it And then you're kind of like, no. And then you're kind of like, well, he brought it upon himself.
Yeah, he did. Franz sacrifices Franz. Franz, surprise sacrifice of the season, sacrifices himself to get Tove into the only, I guess, bulkhead that actually will close.
So you know who might have had it together the most out of anyone on that ship? Franz.
Tove. Oh.
Well, yeah, also maybe Tove too. But Franz was like, nope, let's do mutiny. This captain's not talking right. And he's like, you know what? Things just went out of control. We're not doing mutiny anymore. He's like, and then I'll let you go. It's okay. I'm sorry.
I don't think he apologized, but
no, but I mean, like he kind of went, like he always sort of went for the thing that made most sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it was like Ike was like saying things that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
We have to go back or forward or wherever. Which way did they want to go? Franz wanted to go to.
He wanted
forward.
to continue the journey.
Yes. So I don't know. He had an arc in this that kind of felt like he was just always trying to go forward with things. And in this point, he knew that only one of them could survive. So he sacrificed himself.
You gave him a lot of credit, which did pay off in the end.
Excuse me. I have to stick up for the one bald character in this.
That's what it really comes down to, is the only bald character with the beard.
Yes.
One of the saddest deaths I do have to point out is on Hell. On Hell, unfortunately. Okay. One, everybody leaves. These Ramiro and Angel to just shovel coal in by themselves.
That's it. Only 2 people for the entire ship.
They have to power the entire thing. There's like 7 furnaces.
Should have just thrown Lucien in there and kept shoveling.
Rude. God. But it falls on Angel, and Ramiro holds him in his arms and he says, "Don't leave me." And it's really sad.
Yeah, and Angel says, like, "I'm scared." I think those might be his last words or one of his last words.
He apologizes almost and almost shows his affection towards Ramiro at the very end.
Yeah, he does say something along the lines of, "I don't know why you were ever attracted to me or why you fell in love with me. You know,
now's not the time for that.
You were always better than I." You know, it comes when you're at death's door. It's finally the time to drop all of your, facades and just bear the truth. And that was the moment. Look, you can't pretend anymore because there's no more to pretend.
So I think that's all the deaths that we got of our main cast, because Cresta's already dead, Juke's already dead. I think that's really it.
Yeah, we spoke about Oleg already.
Yeah, so then we kind of are left with this main cast. One of the bigger revelations that we do find out in the penultimate episode is the locket that Maura was given in the letter that was addressed to Henry, that apparently everybody has a letter as well. Suspicious. It is the key that is used in the pyramid. The pyramid that we saw when you open that will twist one of the little legs, open the top, and it says "wake up." So this is the key to wake up from the simulation. And she has the key. It was not a figure of speech when they're like, "Maura, how's the key?" She literally has the key.
Right. But they kept the key and the pyramid far from each other.
Yes. And unfortunately, Sebastian is able to get Elliot and bring him to, I was going to say Mr. Franklin. It's not, it's Singleton. The names changing, I don't appreciate.
To his grandfather.
Yeah. So while a lot of our cast is dying and everything, a majority of this penultimate episode, and also in the last episode, but Daniel is going through all these different portals / memory portholes. I don't know what to call them. It is an amazing visual. I don't think I would ever get tired of it, seeing just these things come out of nowhere, these glitches, everything. As the program itself or the simulation's being shut down, it's kind of cool to see Daniel experience some of that, seeing the sky kind of glitch, some of the memory portholes are hidden, but he can see it because it's glitching a little bit. So that was cool. I like this a lot. He's just trying to get to Maura. But it was a really cool scene. I liked that aspect of it, because it was one thing to showcase it and make it a mystery at first, but now since they revealed it, he's like, I'm just going to go hopping through all these people's memories just to get to a particular one. It's very like Inception-y, but more practical.
Yeah, he's like literally crawling through hallways that just have like screens on them, basically.
I guess more work.
Yeah. I mean, I also thought it was sort of interesting that we were getting glimpses into some stories that we don't even know, right? Like we saw Oleg's story, which was like blood in the snow and some sort of oil tank or something like that. It was wild. And then we see Ramiro's and Angel's. There's like a well and the rosary beads on the ground. But again, they're not piecing any of this stuff together. So it's kind of like, wow, what is that about? So in my mind, my hope is that the creators of 1899 know those stories, but we might not ever know them.
No, I don't think we'll ever know them.
Yeah.
Thanks. Or maybe we will. No, I don't think we will. I know. Yeah, it's hard, but that was interesting. I actually kind of liked that because it created more of a mystery of the show, trying to piece together like what could have possibly happened. Why was there a trail of blood in Oleg's? That is good job. Good job, guys. The creators of this. The ending of this episode kind of leads to the shutdown of the simulation, what that exactly looks like. Leading up to this, I do want to say the outside of the ship and the storm, those visuals, so good. The CGI and practical effects in the show are very, very good. It seems like Netflix let them have a lot of resources and it paid off. If you watch the making of 1899, you can kind of see this soundstage screen thing that they use for a lot of the ship scenes, like the decks of the ship. Oh, so cool. I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
Really
everything
cool.
looked really fantastic. I mean, at the end of the penultimate episode, basically, like Noah said, this simulation is being shut down. They're being deleted. The Kerberos is being sent to the boat graveyard. But the way that they show that, how this sort of like, what is it, whirlpool wormhole opens up.
Whirlpool wormhole.
And whirlpool wormhole.
Mhm.
That's hard to say. And the ship goes in it and it appears in the graveyard. And it's just such a cool effect. And it kind of really showed you how grand like the ocean actually is for this giant boat to look like a toy.
Yeah, it's cool to see that they could really change the reality of any situation that they're in the simulation. Which is like, okay, so why'd you pick 1899? Come on. Like it could have been cooler. Like more, I don't know, magic or something. I don't know.
Put them at a Ren fair.
Yeah. So as the Kerberos gets into the ship graveyard with the hundreds of other attempts that they obviously failed at, it turns out that our cast is not gone or deleted. And also, they see Mr. Ike on the other boat, the Prometheus. She's like, oh, hey, guys.
He's like, oh, hi, there you are.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Hi. But they didn't get deleted or stopped thanks to Daniel. Because he was doing his shell device.
The shell?
I like mine better. Pop it, cell phone.
Yeah.
Much better.
I have to admit that the shell hacking looked more impressive an episode or two ago. I noticed that in this one, they just move the four corners a lot.
Hey, there's too many. That's a puzzle, and it's getting too much. I would do the same thing. Like, what pieces move? I'm just going to move
shoot,
these.
shoot, done.
Yeah. Hey, maybe also that's the command. Maybe that's the command.
Yeah, maybe ship, shap, shoop, shoop is the command to override the code.
Yeah.
You just have to keep doing it over and over with different USB ports put into it.
Yeah. All right. So the finale of 1890. I always
1988, baby.
Shh,
Who
I didn't
knows,
say
maybe
that.
next season.
Oh my God. Okay. So the opening of this one, we finally get our final wake up scene. And it's none other than Elliot's. We see him and Maura, and they're talking about beetles and letting go. That he wants to keep the beetles that we've seen. You know, actually, I just had this thought. The beetles. We never got really any explanation, like why or whatever. They were code.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, first of all, my question is where in the English countryside can I find beautiful golden beetles?
There.
Someone let me know.
Next to the grave.
And yeah, that's kind of what, once we kind of saw this, like obviously the beetle was something from their real life together. And then Daniel and Elliot were using it as a key of some sort, or like you're saying, code that can be released to unlock things.
Yeah, we find out in this episode that anything could be anything. Code could be anything.
I personally still don't know how Elliot is able to stop time
hacking the system, I guess. I don't know.
Blinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Did he have a beetle?
He had the yeah, he did actually. So
He smashed it. And
yeah.
it stopped time.
So they have their conversation, and it's the same place as Elliot's grave / hiding place. So the visual is kind of cool. I thought it was going to go more into detail about what's why, or why are we seeing this memory and why there, especially with what we know. But when he wakes up, he's still with Henry. And Henry plays a big part in this final episode, but not really giving us much.
No.
Just more questions. But he says that all these people came on a trip to forget their past, but they're all stuck here. And that's the key thing, that they're all stuck in this constant trying to do this simulation. And he tells Elliot that your mother fooled us all, but she's also the only person to get us out.
Yeah.
Cool.
Very cool.
She doesn't know, but she can also help.
Right. And there's so many questions here. It's like, why does everybody, we've talked about this before, speak in riddles?
Right.
Right? Just be like, your mom needs to get us out by doing this thing, but she doesn't know that she's in here because someone wiped her memory. Like, it can't just be that simple. It's like just so confusing, and it leads to no one being trustworthy. And so he's telling this to Elliot, like, your mother is the one who can stop all this. And Elliot's like, I think that's what I've been working with my dad. Did you? No?
Yeah. He's very manipulative in this episode. So back on the ship. So the last episode we saw the Kerberos go to the graveyard. Ike is now back on the Kerberos, which I'd be like, friends. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. But Maura ends up telling them mostly everything, stuff that she knows. She doesn't know everything, but she knows some things. Daniel's her husband, Elliot's her son, and everything's not real. Let's go.
Yes, she even pulls out the letter that she received from her brother, and it just so happens that everyone else has their letter on them. In all the mayhem, they all made sure to put their letters in their pockets.
Yeah. Maura wants to do what Daniel said. She wants to figure it out, get to him. She has the key, blah, blah, blah. She wants to do all that stuff. Problem is, nobody else really understands what the fuck's going on. And Ike and Maura are kind of like, okay, let's go do this. Everybody else on the ship is like, no thanks. I'm just going to go get a lifeboat and just go away.
It's interesting that they've literally been seeing people disappear and crazy. They went into a whirlpool wormhole into...
To be fair, Ling was the only one that saw it. It seemed like.
Fair, but it seemed like they all knew that something bizarre happened. And Maura's standing there going, actually, this is the deal. And they're like, no, you liar. What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Everyone, come on. Let's all do this together. Remember when we were trying so hard to survive in the last episode? Why are we falling apart now?
So everybody else goes to do their own thing. Ike and Maura go to her memory chamber to get back to the hospital, whatever. Her chamber's not there. Surprise. It got deleted. Whatever. I don't know the inner workings of this ship.
Shafts. She calls them shafts.
I don't believe anybody because they all say different words. I still don't understand what shell means. Stop it.
Shell? That doesn't make sense.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why? A shell? What is it's like, what?
Yeah.
I still understand. You know what? It's hilarious, though, because there's literally tablets. They look like Nintendo Switches hidden on the ship that Sebastian knows how to use. But yet, Daniel and Henry are walking around with poppets.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Doesn't make sense. That's what's wrong with it.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. It's hidden.
I'm not asking you. I'm asking the creators of 1899 to explain.
Yeah. So Maura and Ike go through memories just like Daniel had in the past. They go through walls, they go through this, they go through that, trying to find everybody. Sebastian ends up finding them and taking Maura to Henry and Elliot, and also deactivates Ike in the process.
Oh.
So he's done.
Brutal.
He's done.
Rip.
Meanwhile, this entire time, Daniel is working with his shell device on the panel, and more wires and gold things come from the ceiling and lots of beeping, and he's doing something. We find out that his whole thing is he's trying to change the architecture of the simulation. He's trying to change something. He's trying to help something. He doesn't want Henry to get the key. He does not want this. I don't know why. We will never know why until there's a second season.
Not for 5 more years will we know why.
How long did it take to make this one? I need to know.
Well, now that they've got that soundstage technology, it should be real easy. Lickety split.
Hey, 1899 season 2 has not been confirmed for season 2, so I swear.
You know, with these streaming services pulling their shenanigans right now, I will be furious if we don't actually get any explanation. Although, maybe they'll pull a Mike Flanagan and just write a long blog post about it and let us know what happens in season 2.
No, thank you. I feel like I'd be more confused.
I do appreciate that, though. Just please answer the questions. Please.
So, to kind of not gloss over, but to ultimately gloss over what the others are doing in this episode and the finale.
Running around.
Yeah. They get split up. Everything turns red. More of those black prisms, which we find out is a virus. It's the virus of the simulation. Because every computer has a virus. That's what that is. But they're running away from that. They get separated. They go into other people's memories. This part I thought was super cool. Because since there's a virus and that corrupts systems, just like in computers, they're going into these other people's memories, but they're also changing. So some of the people that have passed away just in the last episode are kind of coaxing them or pretending to be them to consume them.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's like a real virus. I don't know. That was pretty cool.
Just for an example, like Clemence and Jerome end up in Ling Yi's memory, and Lucienne is calling from the box.
Yeah.
And then they open the box and it's just the virus.
Yeah. It's really cool.
It's very twisty-turny.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. Miss Wilson is, I don't know, getting snapped by Thanos.
Snapped. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah, she's that's happening to her. She's gone, but not really. We all know they're still there.
She's the only one that not the only one. I have a lot of questions, but I still have a question with her because she was part of the flock of people who were going to jump overboard.
Right.
During the calling episode, and she stopped. So it always made me feel like she wasn't one of the main characters.
She was the last one that was about to jump.
Right.
But she stopped because the death clock stopped.
Right. But then like our sort of like inner circle of people like Jerome, Clemence, Lucienne, Ramiro, Angel, they were never propelled to jump at all. So it's like, why was she part of that crew, even though she's one of the main ones?
I have a theory about that, but I'm not going to jump way to the end.
Okay.
I can't really answer it without saying what I want to say. So I'm going to say, maybe.
Another question.
Yeah.
Another mystery.
I mean, technically.
Of our own podcast.
So, Elliot and Henry in this episode is very interesting. You do not feel like their grandfather and grandson. You feel like he's mean and he's showing Elliot mean things.
Yeah. And I think that, like, I literally wrote down worst grandfather ever. I think, though, as far as what we know of Henry from Maura telling us of 1899 Henry, was that he was a terrible man.
Yes.
Right. And so I think that base of it is true. He's terrible. He only believes in science. He has no emotion. He's not really there for affection. He's only just looking at human behavior. So he's willing to kind of really show Elliot some terrible things.
Yeah. He pretty much tells us / Elliot, and we don't know if this is true, that he is trapped in the simulation, same as Maura, all of them, to keep Elliot alive. So he says. We see flashes. Henry injects him with something, and he sees a past where Maura and Daniel are arguing, and Daniel's telling her, no, don't do this. You know, he's gone. You're not going to blah, blah, blah. And she injects him, but then he wakes up with Henry. So it's very confusing. But is it true? Maybe Elliot is actually dead, and that's kind of what drove her to want to do this, because he is there?
Sure. I think that as well. And I think that, again, that sort of theme of they're all trying to get away from their pasts made them do whatever this giant experiment or whatever it is. But it's just hard. It's like hard for us to remove ourselves from 1899 as the thing. Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's like 1899, the year, the ship. That's not everything that they're talking about actually isn't the ship.
Right.
Right. So it's like this whole simulation. She's only staying here with you. It's like, no, she's not doing 1899. She's doing the bigger overarching reveal.
Yeah. I mean, so we have another property where philosophy apparently plays a big part. WandaVision, the ship of Theseus. Now we have Plato's Cave. Your perception is what your reality is. If you change it, your reality changes. I saved you a philosophy course. That's right. Is that what that means?
I don't know, but I was also thinking about The Good Place and how that entire sitcom was based on philosophy.
Yeah.
And it made it felt like it was easier to explain in The Good Place than it is in some of these other properties that we cover.
Yeah.
They just kept saying it over and over again. They're like, it's the cave. I'm like, wait, what? Shadows? What?
Yeah.
I still don't know what the ship of Theseus means. All I know is that white vision's flying around somewhere.
TBD.
Yeah, exactly. What is he doing?
Yeah, so we know, or whatever. So Henry's pretty much spitting all these like kind of truths, what he believes is true, what we just have to perceive is true. Maura wants to be there, or the simulation is there because she wants to be with Elliot, because that's where he exists. That's what he says. It was all built for Elliot. That's what he says. Henry ends up getting Maura. She almost willingly / doesn't have a choice to go with him.
She gave up that key real easy.
She really did. I thought she'd have more of a fight. But
No.
Anyway, Henry puts her in the chair, the mental hospital chair that we saw from the very beginning. So it's kind of like going full circle at this point.
Which I guess sort of makes sense.
Because
it's the loop.
It seems like that's where it started.
And maybe during every one of these like reboots, there is a moment where they're all just kind of hanging out in the graveyard like, what's going on?
Yeah, it seems like there's two injections that there is. There's the white and the black. The black seems to reset, or at least reset the memory. But thanks to Daniel and his beep beep booping on his poppet / shell / whatever device, he changed the architecture of everything. So he injects her and she goes. She like whatever. She's done.
The key is no longer the key. Right.
So Henry uses the key on the pyramid. He's like, I got it. Maura's gone. I can do it. Does not work. Surprise.
Sebastian's like, WTF,
yeah,
Henry.
Yeah. So as this happens, the simulation has been corrupted. The simulation is being deleted. In a gorgeous scene that we see from our other cast that is on the ship, they just pretty much stand there and watch the simulation get destroyed. It looks very much like a nuclear blast / the sun going off, and then everything just beep.
They just turn into like black computer screen.
Yeah. It just turns off. That's it. So Maura wakes up in her nightgown. She goes into Elliot's grave room. Daniel's there. He's like, it worked.
Hey, babe.
I did it. We find out they're in the first simulation Daniel and Maura, ever created. She still doesn't remember everything, so I guess he wasn't that great of an architect. Didn't put her memories back in. And he switched the pyramids. Now they have a really fun pyramid that's like a Rubik's Cube.
A Rubik's Cube.
Stickers, everything.
And the stickers say wake up. I thought that was really clever.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I liked it. And the key now is her wedding ring, which is kind of nice.
Huzzah.
It's nice because it's like the locket. Who knows? Who locket means nothing.
Especially if her brother gave it to her.
Boo. Boo. So.
Boo brother.
We find out. Twist upon twist. Her brother is the one that has been controlling everything. So she supposedly went on this whole thing to help her find her brother. Her dad was the villain. Nope. Her dad was just along for the ride as well. Her brother's been the one controlling all of this. She puts that ring inside of the triangle and she finally wakes up. Maybe.
Right. That's also a good point.
I don't trust any of it. Trust any of it. The real Maura wakes up. She has short hair, completely different look. And outside the window, she's in space, and it's a massive ship, and it's called the Prometheus. And it's not 19. Oh my God. It's 2099.
Still won't let it go.
Yeah, it's 2099. They're on a survival mission.
She gets an instant message from her brother, Kieran. And he's
Which
like,
is on a very outdated computer,
again,
I will say.
I can't. But we do get a shot of her looking at all of the other people who are also hooked up to this like very X-Men cerebral type funhouse ride.
Good callback.
Yeah, look at me. After talking about comic book properties for 2 years, I've almost gotten the hang of it.
Almost.
Almost. And it's really funny though, because they're all like in these like very utilitarian gray suits and their heads are all in these things. So as
They're
they're
in like
going,
cocoons too.
yeah, and as they're going around the circle, Noah and I are going, Oleg, maybe?
Yeah, it was very hard to tell who was who because also you couldn't really see their hair. It was weird lighting, but I think they might have done that on purpose.
Yeah.
It seems from what we could tell, the only person not in their cocoon cerebro mind thing is Maura. But what we could tell is that Elliot was not among them. But also we found out that there's over 1,400 people on board. There's
just like the Kerberos.
yeah, so that stuff was real. They kind of said in the show that memory is everything. There's always going to be something that's there. You smell a smell and it brings you back to those memories, even if you don't really remember what happened with that. So it does seem like a lot of that stuff seeped in. The books that Ramiro and what's his name, Daddy Dutch were reading is the same quote that was on the computer screen when she picked it up. So if she is the overall, like she's the person that designed the simulation, her and Daniel, the only semblance of truth that I could possibly pinpoint is that maybe Elliot is dead and that she willingly went into it to be with him. Why her memory's erased, why she doesn't know who he is. I don't know if that's her brother's doing or not. That's pretty fucked up. Because why would she go in there and not know anything?
And maybe that is the thing, though, is that she's the only one that can save them because she's the one she's the one that created the ship. She created the experiment, and her brother took it over. So while they're saying for the whole entirety of the show, we're going, she has to get them out of the 1899 loop, when in reality, she has to get them out of sort of this space hold that they're in.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. Is that also another simulation? Or if not, so say it's not. Like, let's just kind of go through these series here.
That's the reality.
Like, say that is the reality. What we saw on the computer screen is it's a survival mission. So are they trying to survive off of Earth? To what purpose? But then also, what are the purposes of the simulation? Is the purpose of the simulation to make the space travel more fun? Because I don't want it.
No. Or yeah, it seems like, okay, so if we stay with this theory that this is real, and we also look back at the sort of quotes of telling us that these people are doing this because they're trying to escape their past or they're dealing with trauma. So let's say it is a survival mission. They are trying to save humanity. They are traveling to another planet. Right.
Boo.
These people have no ties keeping them to Earth because either their family is dead or their loved ones are gone or whatever. So they've been chosen to go on this ship. They have to go into these simulations because they have to be in deep sleep for so long that they have to keep their minds active in some way so they don't atrophy. But Kieran has taken over and is playing games with them.
So the simulation was supposed to help them, but Kieran made it not help them.
Right.
I could see that.
Maybe it is just one big murder mystery party to try and keep their brains going while they're in sleep.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe Kieran stands for like Central Intelligence Energy, blah, 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 and it's not really a person.
Well, he did say hi, sister.
Yeah, well, she's part machine, so it's fine.
Okay, now we're getting T2.
I mean, yes.
It's Skynet.
Yes, absolutely.
The entire time. So, okay. So we know the series. We got the series. Obviously, it set it up for a season 2. So let's do our kind of final bites / final review. What did we feel about the show? I will say that overall, very much enjoyed it. It's very much my wheelhouse. I like a lot of elements from it. Give me an ensemble cast, blah, 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 all that. I feel like the finale of the show would have been way more effective if we didn't get anything after her waking up in that cocoon. If it just would have ended with her waking up and seeing that machinery on her, and that was it, I would have been not more excited for a season 2, but like, what is that? Oh, okay, yeah, blah, blah. But then kind of seeing that they're in space, and then like, I don't know. I was just kind of like, oh, interesting. Like, is that real? Like, it's not like, I'm not like driven to really want to know. I still want to know. But that kind of, to me, that would have been a better ending. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I think I agree with you in a lot of these aspects where I feel like I would say episodes 1 through 6 were incredibly strong. I felt like 7 and 8 really fell apart. One of my biggest complaints about 7 and 8 is
You're like really strong, then fell apart.
That's exactly what I think. I did not enjoy these episodes as much as I enjoyed the other ones.
Interesting.
And I think one of the problems was, in my personal opinion, is that the ensemble cast was so strong.
Right.
And that in the last 2 episodes, none of them mattered. They were just running around like fools for no real reason. They were just running around through portals. Their stories no longer mattered in any way, shape, or form to the reveal at the end.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only reveal is that they're all in 2099.
Right. But it was just like they couldn't think of anything better for these other 4 to 6 people to do than run around like a bunch of goons. Because then it didn't matter. It was just all about Maura and Daniel.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the only reason why they were there is for us to care about the simulation. Like, without them, I don't think we would have cared. Like, I think that's just the creative decision behind that. But I agree. Like, I don't know what.
They just weren't used as well as they should have been, I guess is my point, as characters.
Okay.
Maybe that'll change going forward.
It's just going to be Ramiro and Angel in the next one.
And I also, though I agree, there's something about the twists. None of these sort of like reveals happened. None of them really felt heavy enough. None of them, even like, the reveal, quote unquote, of Maura being the one that's keeping Elliot here by injecting him with it, or whatever was supposed to be happening. Like, that didn't hit as hard as I think it should have, especially because it was coming from such an unreliable source, Henry, who is someone that we never liked the entire time. So it's not even like you can take his opinion as, oh my gosh, Maura is really, the evil one or whatever. Like, it's kind of like womp. And then I felt like this twist, sort of like you're saying, it almost revealed too much, where I was like, then what was, it just, I don't know. It just made me feel like, oh, what was the point of all this? So like, even thinking about the sort of what we thought was outside the simulation, that sort of like desert wasteland with the pyramid in it. What was that pyramid? So it was just like these things were happening. When you look back at them, it's like you hope that later on there's a rhyme or reason for them. But this ending did not do any justice for any of that stuff.
So, yeah, I mean, I can't. Yeah, I don't know. I think that a lot of this stuff is just not answered. And I want to have faith that obviously there's a reason. Is there a reason why we had so many people in it? Maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like some of the reveals, for all of these reveals to happen in the first season, I feel like a lot of them aren't actually what they are. I just feel like that probably won't be. I don't know. I need to know a little more of what we got, but also I don't want to know that much. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just want some definitive answers.
In my head, I'm trying to think of like great cinematic twists, right? And one of them that came to mind was The Sixth Sense. When the reveal happens at the end that Bruce Willis is really dead, you can go through the movie and see how that makes sense, right? And granted, this is only the first season of probably a 3-season show, perhaps. But I felt like we didn't get answers to anything. Like, nothing made sense.
You don't think we got any answers?
Even Kieran at the end, like, trying to, like, protect her from Henry the entire time. And then at the end, I'm sorry, Daniel, not Kieran.
I was like,
no, Daniel protecting Maura from Henry the entire time. And then at the end, he's like, oh, your brother took everything over. It was your brother all along. Like, wait, what? Then why didn't you just say that? You know what I mean? It was like such a weird reveal if he knew this information the whole time to not like loop her in. unless looping her in destroys her brain.
Remember when the boy, the reason why he wasn't talking is because they were listening? Because Kieran was listening. And the only times that she got information was outside of the watchful eye of anything that they could see. That's why in the first simulation, he was able to tell her.
Mm.
That's what I would think, because that's the only thing that makes sense on why he told her anything in that given moment.
Mm.
That's what I would say.
Sure. Okay, I'll take that. But I mean, the costuming was great. The acting was fantastic. The set was wonderful. The storytelling was really well done. It just was, sheesh, these last 2 episodes fell apart for me personally.
Yeah, it is hard whenever it's I'm not going to give you anything and you're not going to really see where it's going. That's hard. I liked it. That's it. Like, that's all I can say. I do feel like in the first season of Dark was much better than this one. It's twisty-turny enough to where I will watch the second season if it gets one. But it was cool. I have to agree. I feel like the first part of it was good. If there's a second season, I wonder if we're going to get a different simulation. That's going to be weird. Because we already know. Because most of our cast is already still in the simulation. So what happens to them?
Agreed. Does she wake them up?
Yeah.
Do they take on the man? I don't know.
Kieran
the man? I don't know. I guess we'll have to see.
Oh, man.
But, it was space all along. Oh, I was like, that reminds me of something. That was a special segment. It was Earth all along.
Twilight Zone.
My own throwback.
All right. Well, let us know what you thought of 1899. Go to Discord. Let us know. Or just yell at us.
Yeah, I'm super curious. Maybe I'm just being a sour Sally, but I want to know if anybody has any similar feelings to me.
I'm sure quite a few people did. That's why nobody's talking about the show.
Everyone's just like, I'll forget it.
Well, that's a wrap.
Yeah, not the note I really wanted to end our 2022 on of all of these series that we've covered. Oh, Slissai. But, as in life, not all questions will be answered, and shadows in a cave are not really behind you or something like that.
That's how you wanted to end the episode? Okay.
No, but in reality, thank you for supporting us for another year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I hope you all are having a wonderful rest of your 2022, and we will happily and joyfully see you in 2023.
I am totally contributing to this conversation right now. Yes. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to A Bite of. Artwork and editing by our own Noah. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at A Bite of Pod, and on Facebook at A Bite of. If you have any questions, recommendations, or just want to say hi, you can contact us on abiteofpod.com. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to spread the word. See you next time on A Bite of. Bye.